Ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be a major next 2 weeks for the United States of America and the rest of the world. I'm sure you can kind of feel the energy already, but tomorrow we get the Cancer new moon, Neptune going retrograde. We just had Mars pass Eris, and then on the 1st, you get Mars square Pluto, and on the 11th, you get the second part of the 3 parts of the United States of America Pluto return. And collectively, if I had to guess, I would say the second half of 2020 will probably be more challenging and problematic than the first. All right, I may show some images you may not want to see, so if that's the situation, you may want to tap out now. Welcome to Asteroid Fight Club 2022, and as you know, the energy is intense, and there are many signs in the heavens. Gasoline is through the roof. Inflation is way too damn high. You had Macron tell Biden at the G7 that the United Arab Emirates, that Saudi can barely raise oil output, so basically don't look for help at the pumps and prices anytime soon. And shit is pretty much falling apart all over the world in major ways that don't usually happen, as we have been through one hell of the last 2 or 3 years, or technically you could say the last 20 years. Here, we're looking at a full stadium collapse in Colombia during a bullfight. It is my belief, personally, that we have been in a new world order for over 100 years now, and that now they're trying to shape up a new world order. And so it looks like the G7 diametrically opposed to BRICS. And you've had them play the left brain, right brain psychological aspect for like 20 years or 40 years so well that you now have the Republicans and the Democrats, which totally hate each other on like every level. And you now have the majority of both sides convinced that America is doomed and that our collapse is imminent. And well, as your planetary defense commander, I am not going to give up hope. I am going to recognize that, the next year or two are still definitely going to be challenging as Pluto leaves Capricorn. And that we will make it through, and eventually things will improve. Whether that be 2 years from now, 20 years from now, 40 years from now, I don't know. I'm going to do the best I can with what I have, wherever I'm at. And I'm going to thank God, Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, and then Asteroid Fight Club, my family, my friends, and everybody else as often as I can. Here, we see a crane dropping a tank with poisonous gas in Jordan's Habaka port. Like I said, there's just a lot of, everybody's been super under stress. We've been the hang in there kitty for years now. And so there's not a whole lot of room for mistakes. And so shit is kind of falling apart all around us. And one thing that to me is kind of encapsulates the whole situation, I'm on the Twitter. And on the Twitter, you can pretty much track tons of shit all the time in real time. And for a month or 2 months now, people have been complaining in mass about how bad it is to fly these days. At the tail end of a pandemic with multiple cascading supply chain issues, people are like, hey man, I tried to fly from point A to point B and back, and I had problems. And I'm like, well, did your plane crash? And they're like, no. But there were delays, and I had lost money, and I was like, yeah, well, you flew during a fucking pandemic. It's still kind of going on. And with all the supply chain issues, what did you expect? It's one thing to kind of recognize that shit is crazy across the board, and we're lucky to even have electricity and no World War III these days. And it's another thing to just expect that it's like 2018 and you can get on a plane and fly all willy-nilly without any problems. And people even complained back then. Anyway, I'm just saying, shit is really like messed up. And so every day that I have electricity and a place to live and friends and family, I am super grateful. And it would take a really, really, really great reason to get me on a plane. Though those reasons do exist, and I would still try it if the situation popped up. And it definitely seems like the effect of the virus has lessened. It's nowhere killing 4,000 people a day as it was at the end of 2021, at the start of 2021. And, but if you go to like the NFT New York City, then like a lot of people will probably get sick. And I just don't want to get sick either way. So it's a good time for a decent risk assessment. Stay close to home. Every flight is delayed. You've got Fox News saying America's airline travel is becoming a third world country. And you've got a lot of Americans saying that America is becoming a third world country. And you've still got Russia missiling and bombing the shit out of Ukraine. Today, they hit a large shopping mall that had over 1,000 people in it shopping with missiles. It was a shopping mall. You've got parts of China still with rolling lockdowns after Shenzhen saying they've detected a few COVID cases, and it borders on Hong Kong, where Xi is expected to visit next week. You got a heat wave so bad that power grids really can't handle it. So the Japanese are being asked to shut off their lights to save electricity. You have reports that Russia defaulted on its foreign currency sovereign debt for the first time in a century. You've got an Amtrak train with a bunch of people on board that collided with the dump truck, causing it to, and multiple cars to derail. And it was just reported that they found 42 people inside of an 18-wheeler in San Antonio, which is a very horrific, horrible situation. So this is just my warning to you, your friends, and your family that, the next 2 weeks are going to be Asteroid Fight Club, dangerous and wild. And at times it'll seem like the entire world is falling apart and there's no hope. Like I said, the big thing on July 11th, you have the part 2 of the USA Pluto return. When we had part 1 on February 2nd, 2022, February 22nd, 2022, like a day later, Russia invaded Ukraine. So what will happen this time around, I do not know, but I would guess it will be USA involved as the Supreme Court, they overturned, or whatever the verbiage is for Roe v. Wade, and today they did another religious verdict, or a religious verdict, and that so the Supreme Court is probably going to be making some major changes that, probably the USA will not be that happy with, as we're locked into a cold civil war. And nobody seems to want to have teamwork or forgiveness, which is weird. We're a Christian society. All right. So I am your planetary defense commander. I'm just letting you know that there's never been a better time for us to work together as a team, and that, quote unquote, they are trying to get you to hate people you don't even know, your own fellow Earthlings, your own fellow Americans. And so I'm asking you to be cool, stay cool, rise above all the bullshit, and know that, like, what we're experiencing now is like the collective problems of over 1,000 years of those problems that never got solved. It's kind of like, the uptick in like white power or white power supremacy people. Like, man, that shit is so old and so dumb that, if you draw your self-worth from putting entire other races down, that's just some of the dumbest shit out there. But we've seen a major resurgence of that. Like, we're seeing a major resurgence of the worst kind of things. But we kind of knew that this shit was going to happen if we didn't unite before 2020. And so with Pluto in the final degrees of Capricorn and Saturn in the final degrees of Aquarius, and them not changing over until next year, Yeah, the second half of this year is going to be some of the craziest times the world has ever seen. But we've been training together as Asteroid Fight Club to make it through all this shit and to help out and improve things where we can. So please keep the faith and stay cool and try not to project any of your own insecurities, anger, or whatever onto other people. Okay? Can you do that? Great. I love you. You are awesome. God bless everyone. Stay cool. I'll talk to y'all in the near future.